Is there anything you don't want me to talk about, Jason?
Oh, I don't care this time. I don't think.
Careful. I ask everybody.
Don't give him that out.
We're staying consistent.
What's that for? What's the time that you consistently go for?
I don't consistently look at time. That's the consistent. Welcome into the Ben Burnett Show. My name is Ben Burnett. This is an Appen Media podcast. Today is a first for me, a unique experience. Never had the opportunity to interview someone that I serve with on a governing body. Jason Binder, you're the first.
Thank you, I hope.
Thank you, I hope. So I've known Jason for several years. When he announced that he was going to run for city council, I did not know who you were. I didn't know who anybody in the city was. I'll just be candid, which is still not. I know some more people, but I still wander around thinking I don't know.
We both kind of wander around aimlessly.
I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And so Jason was one of the folks that I had served on the rec commission with Jim Gilvin, and just, seeing some shade structures get installed on some fields, and, was just a casual observer of what went on in Alpharetta. And Jason was one of the guys who really sponsored me to take an alternate role on the planning commission. And I firmly believe this. You are the most approachable person on the Alpharetta City Council. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. I hide. But I just wanted to take a couple minutes and talk with you about how you got interested in public service. Why'd you move to Alpharetta? You're a native Texan. You've got a little bit more of a unique story. So start at the top, leave nothing out, and then bring us to where we are today.
So start from the top, the very top. Yeah, no. I guess so. I am not a native. I am not a native Texan.
You cannot start crying until we're past the 10-minute
minute
mark.
5. Yeah, but no. Moved around a lot as a kid. California, New York, Texas for high school, and then post-professional career in Dallas. Post-undergrad career in Dallas, and then so 2010 we moved here after Nicolette and I completed our MBA program in Dallas.
You are a Texas Longhorn.
That is correct.
You can't leave that out.
I can't leave that out. That was probably the one thing I probably said not to talk about now. We're still a little sensitive in Georgia about that, but
that's okay.
Texas has had a bad few years, so
they're on the upswing.
We're on the upswing now, so hopefully that's good. But so got here through my wife's work, Newell Rubbermaid, and we made Alpharetta our home, and shortly thereafter started our family. And Cecilia was born 2010. Later that year we moved, and now we have 3 kids, and everything's crazy and fun all at the same time.
Are you going to have a 4th child? Are you going to announce that today?
That is definitely not going to be an announcement now or any other time. So
I was going to go. I'm going to start going for that on the show.
I think that's why we get along so well, because we commiserate as a father of 3, and then just sharing the joy of it. But it's such a great time with because your kids are what ages?
They're currently 5, 3, and 3. It's about to be 6, 4, and 3.
Oh wow! So
I've got Irish twins. Only one of them is Chinese.
Yeah. So I thought for a second you threw another number in there for a 4th. But
No.
Do you have an announcement?
No, I don't.
Okay,
it'd be hard if my wife came forward with the announcement of a 4th child. She would be served with divorce papers.
Oh no. We're gonna move on from that, but so it's just Alpharetta was such a great community that you can see right away that you can make a difference early on. And I think me moving around a lot as a kid, you learn that you got to, it's on to you to make it your home. And so Alpharetta has always been very welcoming on that. And started working with the Rotary Club, going with the design review board. That was always interesting.
Stop there, because everybody that I know that has typically gone into a locally elected office has, I won't say traditionally gone the planning commissioner route, but it's a little more common, when you see even Brandon Beach and Katie Reeves, like their first little appointed deal was on a planning
On the
commission.
planning commission.
And so you learn land use. But design review board, for those of you who listen and don't know, the planning commission is interesting because you get to see an application before it comes before a city council, but it doesn't necessarily have a ton of teeth. That they can deny an application. The planning commission can totally deny an application 7-0, and a city council can approve the same application 7-0. It's a recommending body. The design review board is incredibly useful. I would be horrible on it, but it is a city council or a county commission can put covenants or restrictions that something has to be built a certain way using a certain materials, setback, have a style that you commit to, and it's binding, and they have to approve it. So talk to me about how on earth you got to where that was something you even wanted to do. And I'm grateful that there's people out there because I'd be lost.
Well, I asked to serve in any way that would be helpful, and so design review board was the one picked for me, and I think they thought it would be good if I came in with kind of a common sense of business-minded approach on it, because you're right, that design review you can ask, you can and have requests done, but at some point it's like, can we put a little bit of a common sense test on it a little bit? And so that's what I always thought I brought to the table. I made sure not to get too far out on picking shades of colors or anything, but mostly just saying, hey, if the guy's coming in to fix a broken down roof or change his sign because the monument sign's looking a little rough, let's not really make him hurt the bank for other needs that he does need to do, but maybe can't at the same time. And let's be a little bit respectful of these people as small business owners. And so that's what I would do there. I think I was there during the Avalon one where we were meeting twice a month instead of monthly.
I'm sure that was contentious.
It wasn't actually. It was the architects were very good, and then just really enjoyed myself there. So there was another guy, Michael Davis, who we still talk today, and we had a good time with it, and they truly were trying to bring a great product, and I think you see it today in a lot of the design aspects of what they did. So that one was a lot of work, but it was good to see the fruits of that labor. But then design review board, what it did do is get me involved in seeing how other things were done, other applications that were coming down the line, and get me more interested in that.
So when you how long had you served on the design review board when you were like, what was the I always call it like I refer to it as the moment in high school where you knew she was going to break up with you. What is that defining moment when you were sitting on the design review board where you were either moved by something that had positively happened or moved by something that had negatively occurred, where you were like, I'm running for council. I can't just sit here and watch it.
I can honestly say it wasn't like a positive or a negative thing going on. It was just more of a curiosity of how things were getting done and how could I help improve the output of what was being approved in Alpharetta. How can I look at some of the strategies that we were doing for the long-term game? I think we've done a good job previously of growing the economy, taking advantage of a robust economy, and then seeing how it's grown in our downtown. But that balance of application, how would that work out? So as we were squeezing in new development, how did that make sense to our quality of life amenities that you hear me constantly talking about? How do we get there? Once we're there, is there placemaking opportunities there's a place that where you're not forced to buy something to sit down. So to sit at that coffee shop, to enjoy that green space. So just true green space areas. And so that's truly what it was, is bringing a voice to help bring a little bit more balance on the applications on there. So respect the right for property owners to develop the property, but if you're building a residential neighborhood, there should be a place to throw a ball to the kid and a place that your friends can park and visit.
Yes, without infringing on someone else's neighborhood.
Correct. Which we have seen, yeah.
Well, and so tell me this. I would say that watching when I was sitting on the planning commission, and it may have been right before that. You were very instrumental at crafting a bond. I honestly saw this and I took it from you. But talk about that Parks bond that was approved a couple years ago, and what that's going to do for the city of Alpharetta over the course of the long term, and where you see that going.
Well, I will have to say that it wasn't me. It was our friend Mike Kennedy, and so Mike Kennedy crafting the bond. But it was probably more geared towards a lot of transportation issues, and then Parks was a second part of it. But with T-Splosh coming on, we were able to say let's even this out a little bit. What you have seen from the bond are projects that were worked on before I even got on council. So the Wills Park pool, that what you see today that we actually jumped in. Thank you very much for your support on that.
I'm very generous.
You're an avid supporter, and I think you did it so you wouldn't have to jump in.
So in full disclosure, my wife was out. Lindsay Ann was out there, and she was like that whole week. She was like, "I really want to jump. I really think I should do it."
I should have called her.
You should have called her, and
You went so far as to schedule dance lessons at that same time. As my understanding.
So you guys, so everybody knows that I'm Fred Astaire or Julianne Hough, whatever her younger brother's name is.
You're losing me.
We're Lindsay Ann and I take dance lessons. That's neither here nor there. But we had one that afternoon. But she got out there and she was so disappointed. Like, if you get me out somewhere and I've committed to it, like, I'll go down with the ship. I will absolutely.
Yeah.
If I commit to it, like, it may not end well, but it will absolutely happen. My only criticism of that entire day, and so everybody knows, the Alpharetta Rotary Club did a wonderful job raising money for the Alpharetta Public Safety Foundation, and it was to the tune of like $30,000.
That's right. Yeah.
So they convinced crazy people to jump off a diving board into the Wills Park pool in February, and I was shocked to see that many people out there in February at all. I was amazed at how much money you could raise. But she will live with that regret for a whole year, and there's no way she will jump next year. I'm just going to needle her. She'll have no choice.
She'll do it. It sounds like she wanted.
But if you had come to me, I would have. It doesn't take a lot of money for me to do something stupid. Like, I'd volunteer to be roasted, or if I felt like it was a good cause and could raise money. But talk about that, because you spent a lot of time at shifting gears. One of your early involvements here was with the Rotary Club, and there's a lot of people if I don't know, this is my barometer. If I don't know what it does, and there's a lot of people that are in it, then no one knows. Talk about what the Rotary Club does and your involvement there throughout the years, and some of those cast of characters, and how you get involved in something like that. You guys do so many good deeds around the city that I feel like they deserve shameless promotion.
They do always. And then what I will say for anybody that's looking to get involved for anything, just Rotary is a good place to start. And there's a lot of different clubs in the area, so you can most likely find your fit and your own group of characters to hang out with. But the Alpharetta Rotary, for me, is truly what made Alpharetta home for me. I mean, there was probably about 80 members at the time, and I joined right when Cecilia was born, and so we were a young family.
Y'all were popular because you had a baby.
We had a baby, and then everybody wanted to help and hold a baby, so it was very, very helpful there. And I'm just forever grateful for a lot of my friends there in that group, and found a great friendship, great family, great community within there while we were away from our own family.
Talk about some of the service projects that you have led through that time. Talk about your time as president. Talk about what they continue to do to be creative and to raise money for things all over this community.
I think it's neat to see now some of the newer members come on board and have new ideas, like the polar bear plunge, and Mickey Rogers, who's coming on as president in a few years, his heart for service, which is in different ways that I was able to serve. He helps out more on projects like working and helping out with the new Drake House design, or the gazebo that we use at Wills Park every year and refinishing that. So he's do a lot more hands-on projects that are probably a little bit more closer to the Habitat for Humanity ones. And so each person brings in their unique personalities to the projects. And since we're so large, we have enough people to do different projects throughout the year. So we've been involved through North Fulton Community Charities in the past, through their GED education. We've done the Drake House, working with about high school students, junior high school age, and helping them develop work set skills, how to do interviews, resumes, that sort of thing. And mentoring families within Homestretch, all those things. But we do all those projects, and so out of our 100 people, two will pick one project there, one project there. Joel Canada, who passed away recently, he was big on the Old Soldiers Day parade and saluting our veterans, and so he was always big on that. And so it was always great to see everybody's individual passions come together in a collective group there. So being a president of the Rotary Club is just an amazing experience, because you don't have to put a lot of it on your back. You just get to be the ringleader and just announce who's coming up as the next act and who's up and with this service project. And it's just a great group to be around every Friday morning.
Well, let's talk about this. As you have sat here over the course of three plus years on city council.
Yeah, already.
Besides from the homestead exemption that you drug me kicking and screaming along, what would you say is the? I'm kidding. I ran on lowering taxes.
I was just gonna let that just sit there.
What would you say are your? What are you really proud of? Like when you finish your term, what are you really proud of being able to do and knowing that is legacy building for your family?
I think every year you
have to know. You can't think.
Every year it's been something different. Sometimes they're unexpected, but working with the group on just the parking deck experiences and where we were gonna, was it necessary that we had to take out an area that we considered our own as a civic area, food truck alley, and so making sure that that'll stay. So when we go to food trucks, that'll always continue to be there. The homestead exemption was really nice. I think the ethics bill is something that I'll be real proud of, and just to make sure that we were on the baseline of expectations and what people should want. I hated the fact that
talk about what that did.
Well, I think what it did was it took away the uncertainty that maybe some in the community were having about how business was getting done, elected officials. Not necessarily that it changed it, but just that there was a fair treatment of how business would be conducted within city council, and how, if there were any questions, that it could be resolved, because there was really no rules before. So I think when there's uncertainty, it can cause fear within the community, and so that's what it did. It took away the uncertainty.
I always, in full disclosure, I always thought that the first time I would have to recuse myself over something was because of me. And it wasn't. The first time I ever had to recuse myself was because my wife is a nurse at Wellstar, and the threshold was $5,000 a year.
Oh, yeah.
And so she works 2 shifts a month, but she was like right at the threshold. And when I got the W-2 this year and I saw that, I was like, I did the right thing.
You made the call.
I made the right call. I still have not had anything come up where I've had any sort of conflict.
You're still in the first half of your.
But her employee, I'm gonna have a string of like 5 where it's like, I'm out, guys. And so I told her it was really funny that you spent all that time working on your ethics bill.
You helped me with it and everything, and you were the first one.
And I was the first one that had to raise my hand,
which is not a bad thing at all. I don't think that should be confused as a bad thing. It's good to show people that that there might even be a.
It's the perceived conflict. It's the most honorable thing that you can do as an elected official is stand up and say, "I'm really proud of the fact that I or my wife works at X, Y, and Z, and I love that career and I love what it does for our family, and you guys don't need me to help make this decision."
So, and then I'm hoping that there's other things. I still have about a year left on this term, and that we can work on. Like I do think the opioid epidemics, that we need to look at that more and see what we can do as a community. That we've always been a blessed community as far as community safety is involved, but there's there's things going on that I want to make sure that we can help reduce that as both our kids get to be older and high school age. So
yeah, and I don't make any secret about pretending to know what the problems that my children are going to face, because as I was getting into high school, the internet was just becoming a thing that people readily used.
When did you get your first email address? That's what I always kind of time it to.
I don't know. Middle school, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe a little later. I changed my screen name on AOL every other week for a year.
I got mine on my email at undergrad.
Do you remember that? Like screen names on AOL, or
just the obnoxious modem.
Is that not?
That's the only thing that
that's a show in and of itself.
We should make that a phone ring for the kids.
What was your first screen name? Can you imagine?
No.
I'm putting that in the survey moving forward as a rapid fire question. And then like my kids will be like, "What?" Like that's something that's come and gone.
Your avatar, kids. It's another name for avatar.
So, well, So let's go ahead and get here. You see yourself as somebody who still has something left to offer this community with respect to public service?
I got to see what we have. I still think there's a lot that we can do. I would love to see some more things done. We've done a good job of adding 30 acres of new parkland, new green space, but then we got to develop it. So developing these new parks, I do think everyone in Alpharetta deserves a place to visit within a 10-minute walk. So some kind of park, some kind of green space.
That's the blue signs the
blue signs are up there, and they're starting to get emails in of what we'd like to do.
What's the craziest email you've seen on the blue signs?
I haven't seen too many crazy emails on it. I do know that people are passionate about roller hockey. So
really,
Union Hill, we gotta work on that.
Never would have. Are those 5 people like just beating your door down every day?
They're not every day, but I know when they're coming, and I think it's good. I enjoyed rollerblading.
Yeah.
Did you ever go through that?
I was really young for elementary school for rollerblading. But no, we had skate nights and like stuff at the elementary school. As
far as things left to do, I would like to see that get done. I think the another one you and I both talked about is adding a university, more of a university around here. I think Alpharetta, the residents and the employees that work here would be well served by having a professional MBA program or an evening law program.
I go a different way. I would like to see the vet school. In full disclosure, I called Auburn, and I'm sure they thought I was insane. Some guy from North Fulton, and I don't have my family. They're all Alabama fans, but Alabama doesn't have a veterinary program.
Yeah.
And so I called them, found the provost at Auburn, and called him and said, "Would you guys be interested in having some sort of school in North Fulton?" He was like, "Hell yeah." He's like, "Guy, you talk about planting the flag." I was like, "You may cost me my seat on the city council if Auburn opens the Alpharetta campus, but I do feel like a veterinary program or some sort of professional school that's a little different. It's a different animal. I think adds a ton of value. I think Georgia State has done a lot for this area. And if you have kids that are in high school, many of them have done dual enrollment through that facility. And
that's huge.
It's huge. And I think Gwinnett Tech is a great thing for the whole workforce development certificate aspect of our workforce. And that's the biggest thing I see as a stakeholder in a business. But I would love to see, if you're Clemson or Virginia Tech and you got a veterinary program, call me. I've got a spot for you too.
But I think, and that's always been the neat thing to see about Alpharetta over the past 10 years or so, of the evolution of where it's evolving to. I think Gwinnett Tech was a huge step coming in, because we now have for our workforce, but then also for all our kids that you and I are saving up for kids for undergrad, and we know how that is. It'd be nice if they could take some of those core classes at Gwinnett Tech, dual enrollment, and do it there before we send them on to university.
And then there's no better way to utilize a program like that, and then to have 3 or 4 years in school and pick up several degrees while you didn't cost me any money in a dual enrollment program. What a
Pick up several degrees or graduate early. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I can already tell you which one of my children will graduate early and which will graduate late, and which one will pick up several degrees. So
That one's worth putting into writing down and putting in a box and then seeing how that all came out.
So what's next for you as you embark on a reelect? What do you want to put out there for the people of Alpharetta to know? How do you want them to view you? What do you want to see? Anything in addition to building those parks that are 10 minutes or less from everybody's place?
I think when I came on as council member, I said I'll be your biggest advocate. I'm there to work for you, and I hope that'll be the case. You know, when I decide to finish, whenever that is. I'm exploring it. For me, it's always been, do I want to be someone or do something? And I've always chosen the latter. I want to do things, and so if there's still things to get done, and I think that I can be influential and effective in doing that, then I'll continue on doing it. But we still have a lot of work within our park system. We have a lot of work within keeping our community safe, our road projects, making sure that we get them done, but also make sure that they're done in a way that people can enjoy them, either through walking, riding a bike, or driving a car, and so that we get that done effectively on our neighborhood corridors. So it's been a great group. You know that the staff's been huge, and that's just, it makes it easy to serve on that council, because they always keep us safe, and they always and steer us in the right direction and tell us where okay, you should look this way when you're making your decisions. So
they keep me safer than most.
They keep us all safe by keeping you safer than most, for sure.
Well, I'll say this. I know that there are 3 seats that are up and a mayor. And I would say, from having run a race and having the opportunity to leverage your network, I wouldn't classify it in a bad way as an island of misfit toys. But man, they're an island of misfit toys that stretches all over the city. Most people just assume that they have they would have 1 or 2 pockets of influence, and you don't. I think running a race against you would be an absolute nightmare.
Well, I appreciate
that. And I say that because you have really, really strong fans in the equestrian community that you were nice enough to lend me. You have really, really good supporters in Windward that you can't betray. And you have a really, really good network of people from Rotary, and you've got a really good network of people in West Alpharetta, and you've been involved, and your kids are young, and so you have this. I feel like when you get to a place where you have more free time, you may know less people, because of your wife and your kids. How many more people in this community do you know? Because you trip across them you've got 5 people. You're like casting a pretty wide net, and I think that somebody that would want to sit there and think about testing you would be insane. But, that's what the elective process is. I would not, of all the people that are on Alpharetta City Council, you're the one I would want to run against the least. And I think that's about the highest compliment you could give somebody.
Well, I appreciate that. And that means I can count you off from dropping your seat to run against me. So, because that would be a fun campaign to watch. The Burnett versus Binder.
I was talking to Donald Mitchell, and maybe a week and a half ago, and he was like, "Do you ever think you'd want to run for mayor?" I was like, "Run for mayor? Sure. Be the mayor? Never." And I was like, "No, I would never. I would not want to do that." I definitely I appreciate people that like ideas, that aren't afraid to put something out there, that aren't afraid to not get it right the first time, that don't necessarily aspire to run for United States Congress. And I think that there are a lot of really, really good people here in Alpharetta, but I think that you do a ton of backbenching homework. You do a tremendous amount. And I would never want to understate the network that you've got. I think it would be a very, very challenging thing. I wouldn't want to mess with it. I was glad it was in my corner.
Well, I appreciate it. And I've always enjoyed having you on council. I think we make
not
a good pair.
Not always.
I've told you that.
But most of the time you do.
It's like within a 2-second turnaround too. I'm like, I don't know. You're good. But it's been a good group, and I love how we've been focused on the community, and it's been a good time having you on there.
How have you seen? And I'll end it here. How have you seen it change from when you first got elected to now? What is the biggest difference that you see? In not better or worse. They're all different. There needs to be periods of time where you've got a group of people that are focused on growth. There needs to be a period of time where people are focused on homeowners and quality of life. And there needs to be a time where you go back to look at growth and how you always want to balance that. What's the biggest? You're really the only person I can think of besides Donald that has unobjectively watched it.
Yeah. No, I don't know about changes too much, but I do see it as kind of an evolutionary cycle of what I've seen. So the council members that I worked with in the first part of my term, they worked on filling in that nasty hole front that was downtown. Just sitting there, not downtown, but in I'm talking specifically in Avalon, and then bringing that area. I was not the one that said that about downtown. Yeah, but no, but Avalon, and so they did a great job of taking advantage of a turning around economy and working with Avalon to bring it in. And that's a catalyst for the success that we've had in downtown and growing in our historic downtown area. And then now we have an opportunity as a council to really flush into North Point and making that the third node for people to go to. So now we have Avalon, we have downtown Alpharetta, and North Point's going to make a revival. And I think what they're doing is some good things there, and it's going to turn around. So what I like to see is what each council can turn back and say that they did. And so I think the council did a very good job of working with development there and getting this downtown Alpharetta to be to everywhere in the nation. It seems that they're looking to say, okay, we can do that too in our cities. But for us, it's North Point, and so we got our eyes focused. We had to focus on the next chapter and making sure that that's successful. And I think we're doing a good job in starting off with that. So that's what I look forward to.
Well, Jason, I appreciate you coming in today. This has been another wildly successful episode of the fastest growing podcast in Georgia. You can listen to Jason's podcast. Well, tell people real quick about your podcast.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, so we just started recording on over here in Appen Media. So North Fulton Serves. And so we discuss community organizations, people making a difference in the area and hearing their stories, and hopefully that'll influence others to do the same and get out and work on their passion projects. So we've had a few, and Daniel's helped me out, and it's been exciting. And I'm hoping to have you on pretty soon. So
yes, we can. The most generous. Absolutely. There's just no one serves as much as I serve.
That's true. True.
But I appreciate it. It's been another installment of the Ben Burnett Show on Appen Media Podcast. Thanks for everybody for tuning in and to driving our ratings to brand new heights. Have a good day, everybody. Bye. Boom.